Each task you have in your to-do list actually requires a different approach. And if you don't see it, that might make sense why you're not moving forward. So I'm going to reveal the categories, and then I'm going to show you exactly where each task goes. I highly recommend that after this video, you look at the tasks I'm about to go over and apply it to your own life and put them in the categories the way I'm about to show you. Trust me, taking on tasks are going to be so much easier. This is a chart I just made that represents all the kinds of tasks you'll come across. So we've got do urgently for those extremely important tasks. Then we have routines for tasks that become easier when done consistently. Scheduling for things that require a lot of motivation and somewhat urgent. Breaking tasks down into pieces if they feel big. And finally, tasks that are not really necessary but would be nice to do if you fit them into your spare time. Let's do this. First one is chores around the house. These are the biggest pain in the butt ones for me. Little tiny tedious things you gotta do, but you just don't have motivation to do at all. So we'll take this guy who is the chores around the house guy. Super happy guy cleaning a toilet. I wouldn't do it urgently because you might be doing something important. You can schedule it, but you might never get to it. You could break it down, but that'd be kind of weird. Like, let me scrub one time and then I'll come back in an hour, scrub again. Or you're cleaning like one dish every hour. You know, it's stupid. Do in your spare time. That's what I always do for all of these things. The spare time never comes, okay? Unless it's the right thing. So we're gonna do make a routine. Up next, we have hygiene. What is that? So hygiene, basically, I would just do that also as a routine. It's already kind of routine. You go to bed and you wake up and you put your clothes on, you brush your teeth, taking care of yourself. Okay, now we got money related errands. They're not like regular errands because money stuff is important. You might need it now. Your life kind of depends on it. So I wouldn't break it down. I would not do this in spare time because it's not important enough. I would do that urgently. You could also make it a routine if it's like a weekly thing you do or a monthly thing on a certain day. You can do that as long as it's urgent as well. As soon as you get the money, I would just make that happen. You could also schedule it in your calendar every time, but I'm gonna make it urgent because it is so important. Ugh, this one sucks, man. I feel like so much guilt for this one. Texting back friends, like if I don't have the answer or I'm busy or not motivated to respond in the moment, or they ask a question about how I'm doing and I'm not doing well and I don't want to tell them, we'll put it off for so long. Ugh. I know that one, honest, like it either needs to be just do it urgently the moment you think of it or schedule it. You could also make it a routine though. I think that's the best option here. Make it a routine because what you can do is not think about it, not run off motivation, but instead say every night right after dinner, I respond back to text or whatever works for you. So then you're running off the habit instead of trying to wait for motivation to kick in, which never actually does. Making appointments. That's a great one. Oh, I don't even need any of these. I'm just so excited to make appointments for doctors and dentists. I think you could schedule an appointment. I get that. But this is scheduling yourself to schedule an appointment, which is really sad but accurate for ADHD. So it's not really anything to break it down with. Doing your spare time, that's just putting it off, pretty much. Making a routine, though. See, I think if it's really urgent, like I gotta go to the doctor, I gotta get something done now. If it's really urgent, I would do urgently. However, you could also make it a routine and say, I make my appointments then. Honestly, though, I'm going to put it in do urgently because it's so important and we're just going to put it off. I'm being honest. We're just going to put it off. And I have lost so many good opportunities. I've had to wait months for things. I've lost a lot of money just by not taking advantage of the opportunity as it presents. So I would do that urgently. Then we have non-urgent errands. I had to put a lot of cheese in this one because I wanted it to represent me and my soul because I'm Italian and I love cheese. So I don't know what else people need to eat in their life. You could do this urgently, but you could also break it down and order things online in pieces, and then that's kind of complicated. Doing it in your spare time, you could just procrastinate until you run out of food, but I wouldn't suggest it. Scheduling, you could put it in your calendar and schedule it, but you might as well just make it a routine as well. Because why not just go every Sunday at 10 a.m. or whatever? Make it easy. You straight up just do it without thinking. Or you train yourself to know this is when I do these things. All right, next one. Daily duties for loved ones. Like taking care of your dog or your kids or just anything having to do with someone else. These are not big deal things, but just, something you gotta do. You could do in your spare time. It could be, depending on how important it is, how major it is. You could break it down if it's a really complicated thing. You could do it by scheduling it. You could make it a routine, but they're kind of random. You don't really know when. Or you could do it urgently, but it may not be that important. If it's really important, go for it, make it urgent. But I'm going to go with schedule. Put in your calendar, say, this is when I do this. And this is not a reoccurring thing, right? If it is, then make it a routine if it's reoccurring and not super urgent. But if it's not reoccurring, then just put it in your calendar, set an alarm. Next one, finishing chores you forgot about. This is the one. We all knew this was coming. Your laundry's still in the dryer, by the way. I just wanted to let you know. This one, I'm just going to get straight to it and say this has to be a routine because I don't want you to think about it. The more you struggle with something that is reoccurring, the more likely it needs to be a routine, unless it's urgent. Next up is important errands, like picking up stuff from the pharmacy. Things that are just really, really important to do, have to do with your health, money, things like that. You could break it down. Doesn't make sense though. Do it in your spare time? Come on. Schedule. You could schedule to do it. That wouldn't be a bad thing, right? You could make it a routine, but this is also not reoccurring unless it's like you have diabetes and you have to get a certain amount of medications once a month or something. If it is reoccurring, make it a routine. If it is not, it doesn't need to be. You could make it urgent if it is very important, like picking up stuff from the pharmacy. I would do that urgently. If it's not, then I would put that under schedule, put it in your calendar and set that up. But I'm going to just say urgent because this is a very urgent thing. Errands you tend to put off. Okay, getting gas. I would always pass gas stations and never actually get gas. And then I'd have an empty tank for the whole day and it was frustrating. I'd be late to everything. So those I would just do urgently. Just do it. The moment you think about it. If you're out and about in your car already, get gas. You know what I mean? Just do it. If you're driving near it, you're already out. Don't waste more time going home and then coming back and then being frustrated because things didn't work out. Just do it urgently. Errands due in certain times of the year, like getting your oil checked in your car, going to the doctor, just little things that they're important, but they're not urgent. So I would say that doesn't need to go under urgent. You can make it a routine, but I think the best thing you can do is just schedule it, put it in your calendar when you want to go. Health routines. Is this reoccurring? If it's reoccurring, make it a routine. However, I do want to say this too. A lot of us put off things like going to the gym because we have this 0 to 100% mindset. I want to go to the gym, but I don't have enough energy to go all out like how I want to. So we don't do it. But what I think would be interesting is to actually break it down. Do like a level 1 workout instead of it always having to be, I have to give my best or I'm not good enough of a person or something. Like break it down, do workouts little by little, right? I want to put it as a routine. It's kind of like I want to do both, but I kind of just want you to work out and stay healthy just whenever you can. It can literally go in any of these. It could go into spare time, just whenever you think about it. I'm going to go and work out. But you could also work out once every day in the morning, have a schedule for it. I don't think you need to put it in your calendar, but you can if you want to. But if you were going to, I'd say make it a routine because it is reoccurring. If it's recurring, make it a routine. But if you just want to go just whenever you feel like it, then do it in your spare time. All right. But I'll put it in, make a routine for now because I want to stand up for you because you deserve to be healthy. Urgent deadline tasks. Oh my no. This is the one we all procrastinate on and then do it last minute. And then it's really stressful. We'll get it done, but it's stressful. You think I would do it urgently? I wouldn't because you are not a neurotypical. This works for neurotypical people. That's not us. It doesn't work for us. It's too heavy for us to do all at once. So I'm going to actually put it and break it down into little chunks. But start early. Give yourself some slack. The goal is to be consistent. Just start small and do it every day. It adds up, right? It's just easier. So we'll leave it and break it down. Also, by the way, like and subscribe if you like this video. And if you have ADHD and you're finding this helpful. Family and self-care activities. Now, this one's really important, okay? We need self-care as adults, okay? Even if you have kids, all right? We need to take care of ourselves. You don't need to stand in line at Disneyland. Just let your kids stay home and you go to Disneyland. I would say do in your spare time because it doesn't seem like I'm that important enough to give myself the time of day to relax and enjoy myself and like have fun and go out and go bike riding, kayak. This is something I want to jump on. But It's not urgent, so it can't go there. So it's going to be either make a routine or a schedule. I would say the bigger it is, the more likely you got to schedule it. The smaller it is, like buy myself pizza for working really hard for the week, go and hang out with my friends, make that a routine, right? But I think the best thing to do would be to schedule it because it's a good reminder, and we got to convince ourselves a lot that we're actually doing a good job. At least for me, this is good to hold yourself accountable and say, I deserve better than just to give myself support when I'm drowning. Sleep routine. Don't even get me started on this. Check out this video. There's a few videos I posted on anxiety. Really helpful for sleep. Amazing, made by scientists. Love it. But creating a routine, not when to go to bed, but to start winding down and just wanting to get ready for bed. So routine. Socializing, kind of like treating yourself out, but it's smaller. Just enjoying yourself. You can schedule that, but it's like I said, a routine is, well, pretty good if it's smaller. I would make this a routine because it is small. It's not going to cost you a lot of money. It's not a big thing, but it's enough to treat you out a little bit. Whereas the other one would have costed more money, been a bigger deal, might involve travel. So I think it's a good, healthy balance to have something big to schedule for yourself and then something small that you just do as a routine. Studying and learning. This is good. I mean, if you're a student, this is outside of school, just giving yourself time to study and learn about new things you're interested in. If you just want to listen to an audiobook, whatever it is. If it is just listening to an audiobook in your spare time, great, go for it. If you're not a student, do it in your spare time. You could also make it a routine if you are a student and you need to study quite often, if it's that important. Or if you want to get into listening to audiobooks when you are washing the dishes. That's great for a routine. But I'm going to imagine that you're a student for this one, and I'm going to say make it a routine. If the audiobook, I'd also say make it a routine. But just for fun, then do it in your spare time. Taking breaks. Well, is this a consistent thing? Yeah, I mean, but doing it in your spare time is great. I will say 2 points to this. I would take breaks in your spare time, but problem is if you're overworking yourself like a lot of us ADHDers do, we have to make time because that time never comes. A lot of us with ADHD, sometimes we don't have good self-esteem. We don't see ourselves highly enough to say, I deserve this. So I'm going to take this out of here and I'm going to say you could just do it urgently. No, I mean, if you're just hanging out on the weekend, then yeah, time to yourself, but schedule a break. If you're at work, you can schedule breaks. Say, every hour I take a quick break. If that helps you, breaking it down because it's got the word break in it. Taking breaks as a routine, I think that's good, but it's not organized enough. Even though it is reoccurring, you want it to be reoccurring. It comes down to what intention you have. Do you want to just do it whenever? But I think at the end of the day, scheduling is the best one for taking breaks because setting time to value yourself. You're holding yourself accountable. And you can also set how long or get more intentional about it rather than just randomly doing it. You're being intentional. You're saying, I take breaks every hour for 10 minutes, 5 minutes. I go out, take a walk, whatever it is. Working on goals and dreams. This one I do too much. I mean, it should be doing your spare time. If you have a job you work really hard at, a 9 to 5, well, you got kids, you got a lot of responsibilities. But for me, my wife and I, at the time of filming this, we don't have kids. I would say working on your goals and dreams, you could break it down in certain aspects, like every day, like write one thing down, take one small action, one big action. You could do urgently and just quit your job and then just go all out. Then cool. I mean, if you can pull that off, great, but I wouldn't suggest it. So that leaves schedule or make a routine. These are pretty popular ones. So working on your goals, you can schedule it to be at the end of the day, but that's more a routine. And I would say routine is so popular for a reason because it works so well and it's consistent. That's what I love. It takes very little motivation. You don't need a lot of motivation to do a routine. You do in the beginning, I will say. First 3-4 weeks, you need motivation. You need accountability. But after that, it's like brushing your teeth. You just know what to do. You don't even think about it. It's easy. And you're setting a very intentional plan for yourself, which is really nice. You're making things happen quicker and you're making it more likely to happen. Only a few left. By the way, I have a free productivity download along with a free strategy session where I will tell you exactly what's holding you back and what will move you forward. Completely free. Schedule that in the description below. Brain dumps. Okay. Always thought that was a weird thing to call it. Could have just called it something better. Anyway, there is a great spot for this. I wouldn't say do urgently. I wouldn't say break it down. Doesn't make sense. It's a great spot to just do in your spare time. But I will also say you could make it scheduled or a routine. I mean, you can schedule a time to just let things go and think about it. Let things go for your brain dump. Or you could just do a brain dump in your spare time. I can't unhear it. I'm sorry. I grew up in the 90s, so you know what I mean. If you're from that era many a year ago, I would say letting your thoughts out would be great. I'll tell you what I would think would be most productive. I would say make it a routine. Do it every day. First time in the morning or the last thing you do at night. I think that might be really good for you. Planning for literally just tomorrow. I would do for sure a routine. I'll tell you what I do. Every night, I spend 1 to 2 minutes just planning out what I'm doing the next day. So then I don't have to jump into it from the morning on, wasting time, like trying to figure things out. The day's already started. You might have to change things. It's complicated. You plan tonight. Tonight is the new day. And resting for 8 hours is part of that. It helps a lot with the mentality. Planning for the future now, that one is a little bit bigger, right? It's kind of like the goals and dreams one. So you could just do that in your spare time because it's not really that urgent unless you're like losing your job or something. Breaking that down, it might be too much for you to do all at once. You could schedule that. You could make it a habit, of course, but it's just a lot to do that all every day. You could do it urgently, but it's not that important. So I might actually put that in spare time because you're already motivated for that. You're already excited for it. And there are other things like that in here. Like if you have higher self-esteem, you could totally put other things there, like treating yourself out. I don't think you need to like schedule it or anything. If you're already motivated, then you don't really need a whole lot of work. You could just pull off doing it in your spare time. Wow, something actually went there. So getting out your thoughts. This one's kind of like brain dump. I want to recall it something else, please. I would put getting out your thoughts. You could schedule it. That makes sense to break it down or really to do it urgently. You could do it in your spare time. This is good for like journaling, talking things out loud. There's two situations here. If you don't make time for yourself, I wouldn't put it in spare time. I would make it a routine if you're working on yourself. But if you are working on yourself all the time, and I would just do it in your spare time. I would make time and say, you know what, I'm just gonna relax. But you could schedule it too, get thoughts out, but you might as well just make it a routine. So it can go in either or. It could go in spare time if you're motivated for it, but if it needs extra effort, then I'd say make it a routine. And I'd say most people don't really check in with themselves enough, but that's not the same. So getting out your thoughts, I think it's great to journal if you want to. I'll live in routine. Reflecting and catching up with yourself. Now, what I mean by that is checking in on you. How am I doing? This isn't get my thoughts out. This is more taking things in and seeing how my mental health is. I think that's so important. I would say do that in spare time, but we put it off a lot. It doesn't need to be every week or every day. I think you could schedule that, but I think it's nice to just do it when you feel it too. I'd put that under make a routine, maybe once a week. It doesn't need to be every day. You'll get a lot more out of it than you think. And finally, this was my favorite one to edit, emergencies. So if you have an emergency, like in this situation, I don't know what to tell you. You got some habits to change. If you are struggling with anything that is so urgent, it goes under urgent. Emergencies, take care of yourself. Don't put it off, especially mental health. If you think you're not doing well, please talk to someone, get help ASAP. You can listen to this over and over if you need to, like a podcast while you're doing dishes. From what I have experienced with coaching over 1,000 clients, these are the most productive things that I have seen from them and myself as someone with ADHD. Just remember that you're not a neurotypical unless you're watching this to be more productive and you don't have ADHD. Otherwise, I do it pretty much the same. Just a couple things here and there I'd change. Probably like 1 or 2, but I've talked it out well enough where you can make your own decision. I'd love to hear in the comments if this helped you, what you thought. If you liked this video, you're really going to like similar videos like this where you learn about ADHD medications so you can make the right choice for you. Later,